Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Travel Mug Podcast. So Jen and I both have upcoming trips planned for June, finally. So we are inspired more than ever to share relevant travel advice and information, which definitely includes today's guest. Joining us today is Nicole Smith. She is founder of Flytographer. So what is Flytographer? I mean, we could try to tell you what it's all about and how it started, but I think obviously Nicole could do a much better job than we could. So before we dive in, hey, Nicole, welcome to the podcast. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you so much for having me, you guys. It's great to be here.
Awesome. So Nicole, of course, tell us all about Flytographer, how it came to be. And I do love a story inspired by Paris. So I'm super excited to hear how all this came about for you.
Yeah. So it basically, the whole idea of the company, it started in Paris, and it started with a personal problem that I had, which I'm sure many of your listeners have as well. You go on this amazing trip, you're with this amazing person, you're making these amazing memories, and then you come home and all you have are these terrible selfies or like awkward shot photos by strangers that don't actually reflect what you saw or what you felt in the moment. And so that was happening. I was in Paris with my best friend. She lives in Europe, so we hadn't seen each other in like 3 years. And we had this like magnificent weekend together. I was there for work, and we had 3 days alone with no husbands and no children, which is, that just never happens, right? So we thought, okay, let's just walk around, soak up our favorite neighborhoods. We didn't even want to do the touristy things because we'd been to Paris before. We just wanted to like soak up the architecture, walk with a coffee and talk. And we thought, this is never going to happen again. We need to capture it. We need a moment so that when it's a rainy November, we can look back at this photo and it'll take us right back to Paris. But none of the photos that we were taking on our own were reflective of that. Like, we do a selfie, and when you try to take a selfie, it's pretty much all your heads in the photo because you get the backdrop. Or we give our iPhones to a kind stranger, well-intentioned stranger, who would then proceed to take photos where her head was cut off or I had 5 chins, and it just didn't reflect what we were feeling or the magic of the moment. And so the next day we were lucky enough to meet up with a friend of hers who lived in Paris. I gave her my iPhone and I just said, hey, can you take a couple shots of us, but from a distance, wide angle? So like, we're, 20 feet away, and you're capturing the magic of Paris, the beauty of the architecture. And like, we're this big, and then there's Paris. And so she did this, and she took, and she was from Saskatchewan, actually, another Canadian. And so she took, 20 minutes worth of photos just as we walked, down the cobblestones with our backs to the camera, or we'd go up on a bridge. And it was really fun and playful. And when I looked at my phone after, I thought, wow, this captured the spirit of our trip in a way that those selfies just weren't. And this is going to be the best souvenir I bring home. And so that was the genesis of the whole idea.
Right. Oh, that's amazing. I love that. And you're so right. Like, my husband and I have joked before that like we come home from trips. This was before we got a selfie stick, and I hate to say those words, but when you're just the two of you, what choice do you have? So yeah. I do trips before that though. We'd come home and be like, oh, that was a fun trip you seem to have had by yourself, because he's alone in pictures, or I'm alone in pictures, or you're right. And he hates it when I like try to bother other people to like take pictures of it. I'm like, I don't care. We're never going to have pictures of just the two of us if I don't. So I can totally see the evolution of how that happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
We hear from moms all the time that 40% of our customers are moms booking family shoots because they're like missing from the memories. Because they're the ones chronicling them. They're the ones not always, but more often than not, the moms are missing from the photo because they're the ones trying to like corral everybody and chronicle everyone, and they either get left out completely, or then if they give their camera to a stranger, it's just this like terrible, unflattering shot that they don't even want to post. So
that's so important. I love that so much. And I hate to bring up the virus that shall not be named, but because
let's get it out of the way right away.
Let's talk about it now, because it has changed everything in the travel and tourism industry. So how did business change for you over the last 2 years?
Yeah. So you think your business is foolproof because you're in 380 cities around the globe. So you don't really write a business plan for what happens if that entire world stops traveling. So we were pretty screwed, to be perfectly honest. We were going in and like for everyone in the travel industry knows, it's a highly seasonal business. And so we're coming out of low seasons. High season is typically, March through September. So coming out of low season, about to hit high season, super excited. And then obviously the whole world shuts down. And so we actually had to lay off 80% of our team. We had to kind of go into like hibernation mode because it wasn't just the fact that we were going into high season and, it was like peak bookings were starting to come in and all that revenue was lost. We had the sort of like secondary effect of this wave or tsunami of refund requests. So people that have been booking for the last 6 months prepay. And so we had no cash coming in, but then we had all this cash going out because everyone's like, well, I can't travel. And so, it was really, really scary at the time. And there's so much you don't know, right? Like everything's unknown. We were all figuring this out as a world together. And so, over the last 2 years, there's been a lot of really powerful lessons and dark times. But the thing that, I keep going back to is, there was a lot of light that came out of this. And for us as a company, we became more diversified. We now do more than just vacation shoots. So we do headshots and we do hometown shoots. And the team, been rebuilding the team. We're back up to probably 70% of where we were before, but we've automated a lot of our processes. So we're more efficient. We won't need to have such a large team anymore. So we've done a lot of things that have kind of helped make us be a longer company, a stronger company long-term, and a lot of lessons learned. And I think the biggest one was just the gratitude and the being grateful for, the little moments. And like many people, our team is now remote. So instead of going to an office in Victoria and having everybody live here, our team is now based from Honolulu to Montreal. And so now we're able to hire people across the country and have a more diverse team. I love it because as a mom, I can now look out the window and see the birds while I'm on Zoom calls and pick up my kids and put the chicken in. And, it's just a little less chaotic, but still, the team is working better than ever. So anyways, lots of light and lots of dark all mixed in.
Yeah, I think that's kind of how everybody felt.
Relatable.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
I mean, we started our podcast like in the, the first 3 months of the pandemic, and it's like, what are we doing starting a travel podcast when nobody's traveling? But it's kind of given that hope to people, right? Like it's given that hope to me, and I know Megan and I have talked about this. It's like it's something to do while you're waiting to go again. So yeah,
that's so true. And I think that even when the travel was on pause, it didn't pause, the kind of daydreaming and the planning and all of that stage. And we ended up launching a travel shop while we weren't selling any photo shoots. And we sold like sweatshirts that had airport codes on them. So YYJ would be Victoria, for example. And people were excited because then they could still, feel like they have a piece of travel with them. And so it was really cool.
I love that. So how many photographers do you currently have as part of your business?
We have over 600, and we are in a hiring frenzy right now because travel is coming back and we're seeing a ton of demand. And so we have, a team of people just growing our busiest cities. And so I think that number will be probably close to 700 by the end of the summer.
That's wow. I never would have dreamed that many. That's incredible. And so I guess what's that process like? How do you find or vet photographers? How do they find out about you, or how do you come across them? How does that piece of your business work?
Yeah, well, it evolved a lot. So we've been around for 9 years this March. And in the beginning, it was just me. And I would be hunting them down on Craigslist or on the internet, telling them about what it was. And of course, people were like, what is this? And because there was no such thing as a global vacation photography marketplace back then. But over the years, the word, has spread. And, now we have a ton of photographers inbounding or coming to us. And so I think we've had about 15,000 photographers apply, and we've hired around 600. And so what we do is it's a very, what I call hand-picked process, a very intentional process, because we look for a few things. We look for people that have professional experience. They need to have been a photographer for at least 2 years. It might be 3 years now. They've got a website, they're doing lifestyle type photography. So not just someone who does landscape, they need to be photographing people. Second thing we look for is, are they the kind of person that you would want to spend 1 hour of your precious vacation time with? Are they someone who is excited to host people around their city and tell them their favorite things? Because that's a big part of the Flytographer experience, is like learning from Roberta in Rome, like what her favorite coffee shop is, or that there's a cool street fair happening on Saturday that your kids will love. So those kinds of people that are just, people and, curious and love to connect with others. And then the third thing is just, are you responsible and organized? Because, brand trust is everything. And we want to put our customers in front of someone who's going to show up, who's going to deliver the photos on time, who's going to be ensuring that the editing is done properly. So we look for really those three things: professional experience, personality, and will they make you feel comfortable quickly and be excited to host you around the city? And third thing is responsibility, reliability. And so we have a team of people that do interviews, vet. A lot of our photographers are coming through word of mouth as well. And, we have lots of mechanisms once someone's onboarded to reviews and feedback from customers to make sure that they're delivering the kind of experience that our customers expect. And, sometimes there's coaching involved if we need someone to kind of get to the next level. And sometimes there's offboarding if there's a value misalignment or something like that.
Right. Yeah. The trust thing is totally key, right? You want someone who's going to show up and deliver photos in a timely manner. You could hire somebody probably on Craigslist, wherever you're going, and they could be a person with an iPhone or a person with a camera who doesn't really know how to use it or whatever. So yeah, it's definitely good to have that vetted ahead of time, so that you're getting something that's, worth your time and money.
Well, I think that's the one thing that we see so many customers come back to us again and again, because they know that. And even for me, I've probably done 20 photo shoots with my family, just because I try to meet photographers when I travel with my kids. And I get nervous in front of the camera all the time. I am uncomfortable all the time. And I think most of our customers are. And so you need that photographer that's going to be able to direct you and put you at ease and make you feel safe, so that you can relax and your best self can shine. And so by being really intentional about who we hire, that helps get that result for our customers.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah, for sure. What is your favorite part about this business that you've created?
There's a lot. When I read this question, I was like, there's so many things that I could talk about, because I truly love the business. I think that, I want to say two things, because there's really two things that really matter. One is the photographer community. So we meet up once a year at a global meetup. They travel a lot. And so over the last 9 years, we've become good friends with so many of our photographers in the community, and they've become good friends with each other, so that, Crystal in Paris might fly down to Santorini and second shoot for Camone, one of a Flytographer down there. And so there's this community of, it's like having a friend in, behind a door in every city around the world, and getting to see how they live, a lens into how they live. And so as someone who just loves travel and meeting others, the community, I can't think of a better word than gorgeous. They're just gorgeous humans. They're kind, they're fun, they're creative, and they're so inspiring. So being connected to this community globally is the big part. But I'd say the second thing is the stories that our customers share about why they're, doing a shoot, because oftentimes these are milestone moments in people's lives. So it can be an incredible, surprise proposal, or a multi-gen reunion spanning 3 generations, or just best friends connecting after years apart. And so seeing the reasons and the stories behind why our customers are choosing to capture that moment just endlessly. It's I read them it's little bites of candy, and I'll read them in my inbox, and it just feels so cool. And you see, I think in this, especially in crazy times like we're having right now, that people are more than different in general. Like we all just want love and we want joy and we want family and friendship and celebration. And we see this across age, race, geography through the stories of our customers. And it just gives you like hope for humanity.
Okay, that just almost brought a little tear to my eye, like my nose got all tingly. And I think like, I need all this stuff. And you just talking like that, I'm like, people aren't so bad after all, guys.
No, they really aren't. And like, you know, I don't know, like it just
love
really,
that.
you know, people are good.
They are good. Thank you for telling us that. So before I totally boohoo here, so I would like to talk about, I'm not an entrepreneur, Jen is an entrepreneur, and I'm sure that when you sort of start your own business, there's so much that comes with it. So besides COVID, we'll leave that in the past, hopefully literally and figuratively. Talk to us about like challenges or early successes even that maybe you had that you didn't expect in terms of the evolution of your business. So I think obviously this is about the travel piece and the romantic side of the photos, but this is also your livelihood. So sort of talk to us about that aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the challenges in the early years for me, I wasn't an entrepreneur going into this. I was for sure a reluctant entrepreneur because I worked at Microsoft before this and like corporate marketing for 13 years. And I kind of was reticent to become an entrepreneur. And now that I am, I can see why, because it's so hard and you're trying to build this thing. And they always say, oh, you're, you know, building the plane as you fly. And it really is like that because you're trying to figure out all the things to take this seed in your brain. So for me, that was like the idea of how do we enable people around the world to capture photos on vacation, to like putting it into the world and making, you know, it have legs and walk. And so in the early days, you're trying to figure out, okay, like what's the packaging, pricing, who should I hire? And like customer service, marketing, accounting. There's so many different little pieces you have to really figure out on your own without a roadmap. And so I found that the biggest challenge for me in the early years was like, I was just burned out. There were so many things to figure out. I felt like every day was a little bit Sisyphean, just pushing that boulder up the hill, trying to figure out like, what am I like, and not knowing at all what I was doing. I just did it. I just took action and did it. And I think that what happened was in the first year and a half, I was working full-time at Microsoft doing this at night. And I just hit a breaking point where I thought I can't keep doing both. And I also have 2 kids, a single mom. So I was losing my mind. And so I had to make a decision. I'm going to leave Microsoft, the stable, steady paycheck, and jump full force into Flytographer. And this was about a year and a half in. And the company was not profitable. And like, it was like, you know, a major financial risk. And so those are some of the early challenges. And then I tried to fundraise and so many people were like, I don't get your business model. And I don't think this, you know, this. And I realized that I was talking to the wrong people. And so fundraising was a challenge. There's a lot of challenges in the early year, especially when it's a new market, wasn't an established market before, and I'm a new brand and I'm a new entrepreneur. So there's a million challenges around that in the early days.
Yeah, I relate to this so much, especially talking to people who are kind of more in the traditional business world where they just like don't understand the world of like digital entrepreneurs or something that you're building as you're going. They're like, what are you doing? And I've definitely had that challenge too with my blog and my virtual assistant business. And people are like, what do you do? Like, how do you make? It's a challenging world. And for me, totally worth it and rewarding, but also terrifying at the same time.
Yeah. And I always say, like, people would say, well, you're working too much. I'm like, well, you can think about it like chapters. Like those chapters were not forever. They were chapters where I knew I had to get the foundation of the business up and I was going to work a lot of long hours. So I think it's okay to like, focus on chapters and know that, you're not going to live like this forever. But on the other hand, when you start to burn out and you see it's too much, then you got to figure out, okay, I've got to also take care of myself.
Yeah. So you've hired a team now, and we saw that your headquarters is made up of 90% women, and we love that so much. So talk to us about that and why that was important to you.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have our head of dev is male, and that's currently the only male on the team. I think one of the big reasons is that women are 85% of our customer base, and that's really who we service and who we talk to. And I think just in terms of people that are drawn to the business to apply for roles in the business, it's more often women that are there. So we're very much open to hiring men and bringing men on as well.
But we're not against it, you guys.
We're not against it. But it's just worked out that way. And I think it's also because probably we have value are pretty distinct. And, one of our values is to celebrate, and celebration, whether it's celebrating our customer stories, which is what we kind of do as a brand, but celebrating big moments and little moments for our team, for our photographers, for our customers. And so, yeah, I think it's just women seem to really connect with that.
Well, that makes me happy as well. I turn it over to you for a couple of like personal travel questions for yourself. Before we do that, if our listeners are interested in booking a Flytographer a session, how does that work?
Yeah. So when you go to our website, flytographer.com, you can search by destination. So let's say you wanted to book a shoot in Tokyo, for example. You would type Tokyo, it will pull up all the photographers in Tokyo that you can choose from. And there'll be photos of their customers so you can see their portfolio and their style. And there'll be a little bio or write-up about who they are as people and what they like. And so you can also see their calendar and choose the time. And so I think that gives people a little bit of like, I know there's this one customer who booked someone because they have the same breed of dog, and like, oh, well, they've got that dog, I'm gonna book that person. And other people book because they like the lighting or the composition of the photographer, or they read reviews, because all the reviews are automatically posted there after customers write in. And so they can kind of see who's going to be a good fit. And so then you submit your request, and, pretty quickly the photographer will come back and say, yes, that's great. You pay through the platform. It all happens through our booking platform. And it's funny because our booking platform has a name, and it's Passport. So everything's travel themed across our business. But yeah, so you'll just get all the details. And we have on the website for every city predefined routes. And so they're basically the best places to take photos in the city. And we have a mix of like the established classic, like Trocadero, Eiffel Tower in Paris, or some more off the beaten ones like Montmartre, like little back alleys of Montmartre in Paris. So you can look at all the routes, see the photos of those routes, and imagine your travel memories there and choose the route that you're most excited about. And that's all part of the booking process as well. And so that's sort of the booking. And then the day of the shoot, you're going to meet the photographer and destination, and you'll do the shoot. They start at 30 minutes, but you can do a couple hours if you want. Most people do about an hour to an hour and a half. And then within 5 days, you'll get your gallery sent to you. You'll get a set number of photos based on the package size you purchased. And you have the ability to download those high-res digitals, and you can print them through us, or you can print them at Costco, but you have access to those, all the photos in your package. And there you go. That's pretty much it.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. If anybody's going to Paris, do the back streets of Montmartre. That would be so incredible. That was probably my favorite spot in Paris that I went. So that'd be amazing.
It's amazing there, isn't it? I love it too.
It's beautiful. My dad and I had quite a day there. So I guess in regards to travel for yourself, what's been your favorite travel destination?
My favorite travel destination, I took my oldest son on a trip to Japan. And we were there for 2 weeks, and it was sort of a business trip where I met Flytographers. So he got to see a little bit about the community there, but we went to 3 different cities. We went to Tokyo, we went to Kyoto, and then we went to this really off the beaten path part called Kiso Valley. And it was the old samurai trails when the samurais would travel from Tokyo down to Kyoto. So it was in the mountains and in the forest. And then there was these like 400-year-old buildings that like were completely, like reflective of what they were like 400 years ago. So we would just wander through this old village, and my local Flytographer there, he would just like talk about like, all the culture and the history. So we got this really personal tour in this really off the beaten path part of Japan called Kiso Valley. And just that whole trip in general was just great one-on-one time with my one son. So I'll always remember that.
It's amazing.
That is. How old was he on that trip?
He was in grade 9. So he would have been 14.
14? Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
14.
that's awesome. That's such a great time to go away with him too, to really like bond.
And it was really cool because like they've got like so many neat things for teenage boys, like, you know, the bullet trains and like just all the samurai stuff and all the what anime and the food. I mean, it was just everything was, it was just really, I could talk about it for hours. I highly recommend Japan.
Oh yeah.
So hopefully when you give us some social media pictures, maybe you'll include 1 or 2 of those, because that would be incredible.
I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
So our last couple episodes before we're talking about travel fails with people. So do you have any travel fails from past trips?
Yeah, I have like a really bad travel fails. So when I was 25, my best friend at the time, I was living in Korea. She flew over to meet me and we spent 4 months in Southeast Asia. And so she had just gotten this new camera and we were really excited about it. This was a film camera because this is going back a ways because 25 years ago I was 25. So anyways, we had this strategy that because we're traveling around Southeast Asia, we didn't want to keep a bunch of film rolls and worry that if you go through the X-ray, they would get damaged. So we had this strategy of once a week mailing the film rolls back to Canada. And so, at the end of the 4 months, we come back to Canada and she was living in Banff and she gave me a call and she said, I've got some bad news. And I was like, what? And she's like, on day 5 of our trip, the photos started to get black and black and black and black. And from day 6 on, all the photos were black.
Oh.
Like we're talking dozens of film rolls across like 5 countries. So we didn't have like, aside from the first few days, a single photo from that 4-month backpacking trip. And so, that's for sure my biggest travel fail.
Oh my God,
that heart just like broke for you.
I know, that is heartbreaking.
I feel bad for my friend who had to make the phone call to tell me this because I know that was really hard for her. But it was not something that would happen in this day and age. But back then, So that's my big.
Oh, yeah.
So it's ironic that now I'm in the business of memories, but
you're like, this never happen again.
Never happen again.
No one shall suffer like I've suffered.
Before we let you go, what is one of your bucket list destinations that you haven't been to yet?
Oh, so my boys and I are dying to go down under to Australia. So we really want to take a trip down there and go to New Zealand and Australia. And that's the place. That's the next one.
Those are on both of our bucket lists too. Yeah, we can't wait to someday get there, although I'm dreading the flight to do it.
I know. It's gonna hurt.
Closer for you, Nicole, though. So that will be at least,
that's true.
You're already not halfway, but at least partway.
Not like partway, yeah.
Yeah.
Get all the way across Canada. Cool. That's amazing, Nicole. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. Where can people find you and Flytographer online if they are interested?
Yeah, so Flytographer is at flytographer.com. We're also on social at Flytographer on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And then you can find me personally on Instagram. I'm just at Flytographer Life, Life. So that's how you can find us.
I'm sure people will. I had no idea that Flytographer existed until probably like 6 months ago. So I'm sure we're getting the word out there to other people. And I know I was looking at a little something for our upcoming trip to Scotland. So
exciting.
Very exciting. So that's it for this week's episode of the Travel Mug Podcast. You can find us on travelmugpodcast.com, on Facebook and Instagram at Travel Mug Podcast. You can buy us a coffee. You can fill our mugs now by buying the link is in our show notes. And we would love it if you would share the show with a travel loving pal. And we'll talk to you again soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.